Educating, informing, serving. Fact TV, keeping government honest.
Okay, so everybody is ready to go?
Yep.
Already.
Okay, so let's call the meeting to order at, I guess it's 3:05 on May 4th. Bill and I went over the agenda. We talked about it, but somehow it didn't get on there. So we want to add the purchasing policy on the, does anyone have any objection to that?
Don't have any objections, not on there, so I didn't go through it.
No, I know, but if you don't want it, we can postpone it, but it was something Bill and I talked about it, and then John reminded Bill this morning, and we looked at the agenda and it wasn't there, so if you don't want to do it, we can postpone it again, I guess.
It was in the minutes that we talked about to postpone it until this next meeting.
Well, that's what I thought, and then somehow it got left off the agenda, but. All right, why don't we adopt the agenda with the addition, and then if we want to talk about it later, we can. How's that?
Sure.
Okay, so a motion to adopt the agenda as amended.
Dottie is waiting in the lobby.
Oh, wait, somebody's on. I can't.
I don't want
hear
to
you.
say anything.
Dottie, stay off.
Oh, there's Bill.
Can you mute yourself? Thank you.
Okay, so I didn't hear anything. We got a gobble there. So all in favor, say aye.
I didn't hear, there's no motion been made, as far as
Yes,
I
it
can
is.
tell.
The
I didn't
motion
hear
was
it.
made to build the motion.
Start
was-
over. Okay.
They did make it.
Huh?
I make the motion to accept the agenda as written with the addition mentioned.
Okay, all in favor of that?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Did I get a second to that?
Second it.
Yep.
Okay,
All right, let's move
thank
on.
you.
We have the minutes of April 20th. Do we have any additions or corrections to the minutes as presented?
I have a question on item number 8, the Wi-Fi detail. What is Wi-Fi/30?
Wi-Fi/33, you mean?
Yeah, is that the name of it?
What is that, Bill?
Here in the headlights.
Wait a minute, just a second. Where are you, Stan?
On page 3 or 8. Wi-Fi 33, is that just the name of it, or what is that?
It's under the Vermontel Wi-Fi. Number 8.
Wait, just a second. Oh, I don't know what that is. I have no idea what that is.
You're not helping. You got it in 2 different places, so it must have meant something at the time.
Well, is it all that important?
Well, if somebody asks you what,
I can just say no access to Wi-Fi, and I just take out that out. I have no idea what that is.
Okay. All right, take it out. Are there any other additions or corrections to the minutes?
Number 12. Just read number
Okay.
12.
Yep. Purchasing agreement will be taken up next meeting?
Yep.
Okay.
knew that, but it didn't appear, so I assume that got changed.
Any others?
Number 18,
Yeah, you're spelling it again, huh?
yeah.
Gotta change your name, Alan.
I guess. Thought it was a fairly easy name.
Well, you know what it is, it doesn't, spell check doesn't correct it because sand is a sand, so I guess that's what happens anyway.
So I fixed it.
Okay, are there any others? If not, a motion to accept the minutes of April 20th.
I make a motion to accept the minutes as agenda of April 20th.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, minutes passed. All right. Now, I signed the warrants yesterday. I had a question, and Kim answered it this morning about why there was a pay adjustment on the cemetery workers. And Kim reminded me, and maybe perhaps you would remember it because I forgot it, that at the budget meeting, we talked about switching the amounts around, but not the actual increase. So apparently it was never done. So Kim, you could speak to that?
Yeah, during the budget processing in October, we had mentioned that the final line item for the entire cemetery budget was going to stay the same. Don was going to drop down his rate and raise Walter's and raise James. And everybody was fine with that because it didn't change the bottom line. So there wasn't a need. It's pretty much up to the agent or the head of the grouping as to who gets paid what. So that's why there was the adjustment. Don brought it to my attention that we were going to do that, and we just started our first payroll for their season. So at that point, we'd already paid them once, so we retroactive and changed their amounts. So the way it stands right now, Don, if he were to do any work, would be at $18 an hour, which I don't even think Don's going to be doing that anymore because his letter of resignation came up. Walter is up to $17 an hour from 15, and James is from 14 up to 16. So
this could all change depending on what happens with the cemeteries today, but I just questioned it and when I signed them on Sunday, and Kim and I talked about it this morning.
Yep.
Okay. Did everybody get a copy of the warrants?
Yep.
All right, good.
Yep.
Okay, school personnel. Is Jack on?
I don't see him.
I don't see him.
was he aware that it was a 3 o'clock meeting and not a 6?
Yeah, he has it. So let me email him while you guys go ahead to the next item.
All right, so let's just skip that one until Jack comes on, and let's go to the highway report. Well, since Kathy, you're the clerk, but you don't have all the stuff, so how do we need to award the bid for the Hinckley Brook Culvert.
We need to mention in there that if he hits ledge, that is going to be an additional cost because it's not in our specs. I don't imagine there's going to be any ledge there, but I know he's brought that up as a concern, so I think it should be just mentioned that we understand that if we hit any unforeseen stuff, that we understand that would be an extra.
Yeah, that makes sense.
There's
Yeah,
a possibility, Dan, because when we put that in '96, Gurney put that in. And I think we did run into some ledge in some of them spots. So it's a possibility.
Yeah, I think it should be mentioned. Jamie's mentioned it. I see his concern. So, I mean, it might work out in the end or whatever with it being less cement versus a precast, but I think it should be mentioned that we do understand that it is a unforeseen part of the project.
So when you say mention, just to write it into the minutes, or would you have a special clause for the contract or letter to the file, or how would you mention it?
Put it right on their award letter, letting him know that you guys understand that if we hit ledge, that it's an additional cost.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm making sure what.
he's just looking for something that, you know, if we hit ledge, you know, that he's not bearing the extra cost of it.
Understand.
So
Fair
we
enough.
had to done this with anybody we awarded it to because it wasn't in there.
Okay, so,
I'm good with that.
okay, so since Jamie Gregory was the lowest bidder who provided all the information requested, and Danny, what did the state review of the contract? Are they okay with that?
They one of the emails that I read said they had no problems with it being awarded to Jamie Gregory. If it wasn't, they'd want to know why, because he was the cheapest bidder.
Okay, so I guess we need a motion to then award Jamie Gregory the contract to do the Hinkley Brook culvert?
I wonder if
I
one
make
other
the
thing
motion.
that's on there too, though, before you do that is, do you want to mention something? What happens if there's no money comes through from the state? You're gonna still pay for this project, or you're gonna just put it on hold?
Didn't we get the money already? The commitment?
There's no issue with the money. I've asked several times. There's no issue.
Oh, all right.
And but the thing is, I can't quite get them to state that there's no issue, but they tell me there's no issue. But when I seek clarification, I never get a clarification. But if you listen to the conference this afternoon, ACCD made it very clear that crews can now work up to
But will-
10-man crews. So there should not be any issue whatsoever with the pay. But I will double check that again.
Kate. Katie? No.
Yep. Kathy, is that you?
Well, I'm just hollering at the dog.
Okay, so
Katie.
do we want to have a motion to accept Jamie Gregory's bid for the culvert work on Hinkley Brook?
I'll make that.
I'll make that motion.
Stan, you'll second it?
I'll second it.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Well,
I
the
think-
motion should include
Yes,
the comments from Danny. As far
That's right.
as, that should be included in the motion.
and the ledge and the money.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Bill, you got that?
Wait 1 second.
Okay.
I could do it. Don't you?
Okay, I got it.
Okay, so all in favor of the motion as amended, say aye.
Hi.
Opposed?
I'll abstain.
And one abstention. Any opposed? Okay. All right, weight permits, Bill, do you have them there?
Yeah, it's for Jamie and for Jamie and for, yeah, Cardinal Logistics, and both of them have paid the fee, and we have their certificate of insurance.
Who's Cardinal?
They're a group that does a lot of environmental stuff. They must have their list on their thing. Must have 50 trucks.
Oh,
So they must be like a distributing outfit or something.
Okay,
Wait
so
1 second.
I'll make
We
the
need a
motion
motion.
that we accept those overweight permits and Bill signs the permit.
Yeah. So you make. that
Hang on
motion,
just a
Stan?
second.
Okay. So all in favor
Just
of
a
the
second.
motion,
He
say
has,
aye.
can you wait 1 second, Joe?
Yep. Sure.
There are, if you can see that list,
Yeah.
that's one page of the list of vehicles.
Okay.
So they must just run everywhere.
Just tell them they got to pay $50 per vehicle just in case.
Yeah. Okay, who made the motion?
I did.
Dan,
Stan did,
I'll second it.
and Al seconded.
Okay.
So all
Approve
in
and be
favor?
signed.
Yes. So
Yeah.
all in favor, say aye.
All right.
aye.
Opposed? Okay. Paving bid, Danny, that's your thing?
You got grant projects on there.
Grant project.
Oh, sorry, grant project. I checked it, yeah, okay. Bill, can we do the grants?
Well, that's what I have to double check. They keep telling me that we can, but he said it in such a way in that email that Yeah, you can do all the grant projects, but we're holding all the grant projects on, we're holding them all. So I said, well, what did you just say? Are you saying you're holding the grant projects for this year and you're not gonna even talk about them yet? Or did your first sentence said it's okay to go ahead? Well, I never heard back from him. So I wrote him again, and tried to get an explanation, and I didn't get anything from him again. So I will try one more time. And
So
so
then
I,
we just have to
I'm
hold off.
hoping everything's fine. And Danny can get some, probably all but of the, depending on weather, get all the projects done, because we have a June 30th date to have the better roads, the stone line ditches done. And that's Putnam Forest and Record Road.
Danny, is that gonna fit into your schedule okay?
The Putnam Forest is quite a bit to do, but we also, one of the emails I read today, the grants and aid, it looks like they're gonna go ahead with that, and they're putting the deadline at the same exact time. So I'm trying to find out on that too, because there might be possible extensions for them grants. If they're not, Record Road is very simple. That won't take but maybe 2 days to do, 3 at the most. There's a lot of trees that cut on Putnam Forest to do that one.
And they're already logging up there.
Oh.
At the trail.
Yes.
I think we ought to go ahead if everything works out and Danny thinks it's a good way to go. I think we ought to make a motion to move forward with the grant projects unless there's a hiccup in the middle.
I don't disagree. So did you make that as form of a motion, Stan?
Yeah, I'll make that as a motion that we move forward with the grant projects, depending on the availability of the grants from the state.
Yeah.
I'll second it.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay, so all in favor of the motion that we proceed, depending on the state, for the grant projects, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. Paving, sorry about that. Go ahead.
So on the paving, Bill asked about, putting that out to specs. So Bill said that we had $300,000 in the paving money to spend. You guys still want to move forward on the Route 35 Chester Road on that?
Yeah, Danny, somebody marked 35 with some markings every so many feet. Did you do that? Oh, you
I
did.
it.
Oh, okay.
Can I ask Joe, ask Hardy? Hardy, is that the correct number, 300,000?
It wouldn't be coming from Hardy. It's actually in your retreatment reserve that I have.
Yeah. Okay, and it is 300?
There's 95,993 right now. We're going to add another 105,000 as of June 30th. And then when we move into the next fiscal year come July 1st, then we'll add another 105. So that will give us a total of 305,993 after July 1st. So we'll be in the next fiscal year and you're going to be spending what's reserved, and then you're going to be spending what that fiscal year is going to be budgeted for.
I don't
Danny,
see that aside from waiting.
Danny, what do you think?
So I've started to figure it with some pretty good solid numbers. So if we start at the Chestertown line and Bow Maggot all the way to the Box Covert by Ellsworth, that is 3,500 feet. The Bow Maggot, put down GeoGrid on top of it. Add 6 inches of base material on top of that fabric. You have one culvert right in the corner, the sharp corner, that should be replaced. I'm waiting on Scott Jensen just to give me the okay if I can put a 5-foot plastic culvert in there. That's almost 80 feet long. renting a roller, and that's putting down 4 inches of asphalt out when they go to repave it in that section. And that comes to just a little over $210,000 to do that section of 3,700 feet long. And then if you go from the Ellsworth Covert coming toward town, 3,000 feet, all them marks up there, you'll see, Joe, you know, that just like 2 numbers. So you see where it says like the 3, that's the 3,000 foot mark. It's
Right.
a little bit before Otis Road.
Yeah, I saw
To
that.
mill that down 2 inches, which I'm still waiting for a contractor just to verify that we could just do 2 inches. And then repave that section. That's $82,890 approximate. These are just all my numbers, but they should be really close. That number is figured in that I could possibly sell the grindings off in that section of road for a price. So that puts you right up there pretty close to the 300,000 to do that. I had figured it all the way to coming to Otis Road, but that would have made it little over 132,000 to do that section. So it put us over what we would have for money. I would say if you're going to put it out to bid, I would do it in 2 sections, not knowing what the final numbers would come in at. I would do the milling from the Ellsworth Covert to up the hill 3,000 feet as one project, and from the town line to Ellsworth Covert as another project.
Sounds all right to me.
Now, the question is though, if we do those, is there any place in town, because now we're going to set ourselves back like two more years or so before we pave again, right? Or maybe more. Is there any other place that, I mean, if that's deserving and we don't need to do anything else for the next 2 years or so, that's fine. I just want to make sure that we're going to dump all our funds that we have reserved in the next budget into this project.
Danny,
I would do just the whole reason we did this reserve is so that we could rebuild a section of road so that we weren't back there every 4 or 5 years. So my feeling is that with everything that's going on, not knowing how taxes are going to come in, I wouldn't want to spend all of it. I would think to do from the Chestertown line to the corner, to Ellsworth Covert for the little over 210,000, that would leave you, the next budget year, the 105 coming in, because that road down by, Ledge Road, that's really bad. That's not going to make 2 years.
Danny,
Well,
aren't you
Go ahead, John.
aren't you due from the state next year, the year after?
We've been told that so many times now that I don't know when it is.
So it isn't automatic every 3 years,
Oh no, it's 7 or 8 years now
really?
that you might get it. Yeah,
But how long has it been since the last one?
we did the village the last time we had the grant, so we got a few years to go before we get state money. And I think they even take your structure grants, and actually somehow that calculates into it now too.
That road from the Chestertown line to that box culvert there, that was really bad. If I remember some years ago, I don't know how well that was actually done. That was absolutely terrible. I think that was just paved over stumps and mud at the time.
The coverts, all the coverts have been done through that section except for that one in the corner that I'm talking about. That covert alone is $4,950 just to buy the covert. Then I figured another $960 in for the big waste blocks. They're 3 foot by 6 foot long, 18 inches thick. I was just going to lay them up for the headers, the inlet and the outlet. And the town would be doing that work. I do not figure in our hourly rate and what little materials like we have already bought figured into this project. Fuel and everything is pretty much in our regular budget. So do not figure that into this. that culvert might last till the next time you do it, but the geogrids would come to the corner, and the dig down through that material is just going to be a nightmare later on. This geogrid is the same stuff that I used when I did that by Jock Ells on that road. I'm not putting as much material on the road. I'm only going to do 6 inches of adding material in that section to try to keep the cost down to that number.
My thought of the project is I think you're exactly right. I think that we do that portion absolutely correct, and then say the whatever 105 or whatever the number.
Dan, you're cutting out. Can't hear any of that. Didn't hear anything.
But I agree with Stan, and I think we do it to Ellsworth and save the 80,000 or some odd dollars, and then for next year do something on 121.
Yes.
And if we get the grant, if we do get money from the state, then you get more money, so then you could do some other project as well.
Yeah, I'm thinking the same way, Joe.
Danny?
That's it.
I'm if we got to do all these grants and the town's going to do this culvert, I think that would be more than enough for this summer. The material that I figured for base material, I priced by the yard out of Eastman Sand and Gravel because it's only 3 miles away. They said that they could make that material up and the price was comparable to other companies around. So I wouldn't bid all that out just because of location. It's basically 50 cents a yard more than Sasasimo, but 3 miles versus 25 miles. For 50 cents, I can't truck it. That number, I also did figure in hiring 2 trucks for a couple days in that number, just because it's 1,900 yards of material to do that section. Trying to do it with just our trucks would be there forever. So I figured 2 trucks, 4 trucks total hauling.
I make a motion that we do the section from the Chester town line to Ellsworth culvert, including that large plastic culvert that Danny's talking about, with the method that Danny has described, that we do not do the second section. We hold that off until next year. The second section being from the Ellsworth Clinic, Ellsworth up to Otis. Hold that one till next year, reevaluate.
I agree with that, but I wouldn't put it in as next year. I would just hold off on it.
Yep. Right.
Well,
Be the only change I would make.
just hold off on it. That's what I'm
Hold
saying.
off. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a motion and we have a second. Do we have any further discussion?
Can
I'll
I ask
second
you
it.
a question? By this motion, are you agreeing with what Danny has proposed for his way of doing it with the trucks and getting the gravel from Eastman?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're gonna put it out to bid.
Description that he gave us.
We're going to be bidding out the bow-magging of it and the paving of it. The rest of it, the highway department's going to do, other than hiring 2 trucks. And I would hire 2 local contractors from town to do that.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I think it's great.
Is there an expected time frame? I mean, when do you think this would go?
Bill and I'll work with Bill to get this written up to put it out in the paper, so because we have to bid that portion out. And then as long as them numbers come in to what you want to spend, and I can make sure that the Eastman Sand and Gravel can make that material, I would hope that we would do it, within the next few months.
Okay.
And I think when you do the bid, I think we should have something in there which is a drop dead date, so we don't end up.
Yeah,
during Columbus
We-
weekend.
We do put dates in there when no earlier than a certain date, no later than a certain date.
Okay.
Okay, can I ask one more question? Will that motion be that whole thing that Danny said? So Chester to Ellsworth, including the culverts, do not do the second section. Trucks, what will be bid out will be the bull magging, the paving. Otherwise, the town will do with 2 trucks from town and getting the gravel from Eastman. Is that all together in the motion?
Yes.
I don't think you have to list where the gravel has to come from,
Well, why not?
because if he can't make it and they can still do it for the same number, I want to be able to buy it from whoever has the material.
Okay, but what I don't want us to have to bid out that gravel if we don't have to. I mean, that's what I'm questioning. Whether
I
or
don't
not
believe we
want
have to
bid out.
because we're using funds that are appropriated for this, which is out of that paving money. All the money will be coming out of that.
Okay.
I know it's over the $5,000, but we buy materials by the yard.
And the only thing, Bill, is that there's the 2 town trucks plus 2 additional trucks. They
Yeah, I
were
get it.
started out.
Yeah, I got it.
And
Okay.
I guess one way around the bidding on the materials, as long as I get 3 prices from Pitts with good reasoning on location, I would think that would cover it.
Okay.
I think so.
Yes.
So
Yep.
if everybody's satisfied, say, all in favor, say aye.
I just got one
Aye.
on traffic control, Danny. You got that figured in?
We usually use Walter and James, and that is in the regular budget for flagging, so I did not figure that in. I can get prices from, there's companies out there that do that. I would like to be able to actually close the road like Chester did when we're working on it. During the day, be open at night, but close it, by say 8 o'clock in the morning and have it closed until 1, 2 o'clock. And some of this stuff, it may be, from 6 in the morning until 6 at night or something, just because that culvert's not, you're going to get so much of it done in a day.
Yep.
But
You do have that.
we have to work through that about closing the road.
Yep. Okay.
Okay, so if everybody's satisfied, say, everybody's in favor of the motion as presented, say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, all right. So go ahead, Danny and Bill, and work up the specs and go from there.
Yep.
Okay.
And then we'll just hold the balance of the money will just be held in reserve fund for next year or whenever we decide to do it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, the VOSHA situation, Bill?
Yep.
Hey,
We
just a
have
minute.
Go ahead.
I got a question for Danny.
Yeah.
Danny, is there anything that can be done to the guardrail on the Cheese Plant Bridge on the right-hand side? Somebody hit that years ago, and it's right off on an angle, and I was wondering if it could be straightened or fixed, because it would look a lot better.
But
Yeah,
there is money in the capital budget for guardrails.
Yeah, but I think I gotta look at it again. I think it's just like one section right there, isn't it, John?
Right, yep.
Yeah. We might even be able to just go out with a backhoe and pull it back and reset a post.
Yeah, I think so, yep.
I know
Okay.
we have some guardrails down 35 that we gotta do from where the trees come down and stuff too, but I will look at that.
Okay,
Where is that, John?
yeah,
Okay,
Where?
Bill, VOSHA?
Cheese Plant Bridge.
Where? Pardon me?
Cheese Plant Bridge.
Okay, thank you. Okay, with regard to VOSHA, they require us, wherever employees are working together, they're requiring us a health and safety officer, not a town health officer, a health and safety officer. And that health and safety officer is to make sure everybody is staying far apart. If they're close together, they're wearing masks. if they're in all those things that allow us to go back to work. And Danny would be, I think Danny or one of the guys, let Danny talk about the highway. In the town hall, the safety officer, health safety officer is Kim. So you guys will do what she tells you when you either do or do not come in, and if you're here to wear your mask or whatever. Okay, and we put up signs saying that no one who was ill is to come in, and there are other instructions on the outside. And at the garage, the same type of signs will be there, and I'll let Danny address the VOSHA officer there.
So I guess one of our biggest questions is on this officer is is somebody going to give us the information of what we're supposed to follow, or do we have to find all that information out ourselves?
Well, I sent you those guidelines.
Right, that should already be out there.
Right.
Well, it's pretty much just a plan that you create on, for your own office, taking in consideration those guidelines that they gave you.
And
So like temperature should be taken and make sure everybody documents that they're feeling fine before they come into work. But you don't have to take temperature of anybody coming into as a visitor. But you can require them to wear a mask. You don't have to, but you can. So I guess it's everything you decide.
So we have to take temperatures of all employees here every morning.
The employees you should, yes.
It has to be all written down or is it just, you just check and that's it?
It can be just checked. It's good to have a documentation, but they're not going to check on any documentation, and they don't want to fall under the HIPAA rules either. So they're not going to come collect anything.
Okay, right.
Do we have, so we'll need probably 2 non-contact thermometers then, right?
Danny just picked us up one for the office here, which is 8 degrees less than then it's not right on. But that's okay. I'll just add 8 degrees to it. My body temperature is 90 degrees.
You should be able to calibrate that.
Oh, I don't know how.
Read the book.
It's got one little piece of paper and not much direction. But
what kind of safety officer are you?
Danny doesn't have a choice.
We'll fix it.
Mike is going to be the safety officer here, but that was his concern. But the way it sounds like, long as whatever he follows for guidelines is the way it is. That's
Yes.
So I believe Mike is going to do that for us here.
Okay.
Yeah, I think my only guideline, I made up a chart and I'm just going to ask questions. How do you feel? Do you have a sore throat? Anything? Zoom in on them at a temperature. Do you have any comments? I put down the date and their name and that's it. That's all I'm going to do.
I think we'll probably do like a sign-in sheet every morning that we just sign it saying that we're not ill, so that we're not having to do, I think if we sign in saying we're not ill, it's saying that you're fit to work. And I don't know if we really have to do the temperature every morning. We can.
I think you should.
So.
Yeah, it says that if it's feasible, you're supposed to. And since you have it, might as well use it.
All you have to do is after your sign-in, just have a column with a check mark, temperature taken, yes, no, or something like that.
All right. Yep.
Yeah.
I think it's the way to do it.
Okay, everybody, you satisfied, Danny?
Kim, I have a question.
Yeah.
Yep. So if we go into the office, we're only going when there's nobody else in there, usually on a Saturday or a Sunday. I don't know what we're supposed to do.
Well, I think at that point too, I'm not really sure how we would handle that. It's not really open up to the public and it won't be on Saturdays like when you come in. But because when I'm here, I can take appointments, or I will be able to take appointments when everything is lifted. And so Bill will be able to have a visitor. I think it probably pertains more towards during the week when I can have other people. I don't know. Bill, what do you think?
I think the only thing you should do, Nancy, is if the 3 of you are going to be in there, it wouldn't make a whole lot of sense for you and Hardy. But if Gail Ann's going to be there too, then you should just have a sheet of a notebook that is to put the date in the book like a log book, and just say everybody was feeling fine. no one was sick, just something like that, so that you guys will be your own safety officer.
Well, actually, I'll have my clipboard on my desk and you, Nancy, could just sign your names where it says the name and the date and comments, just that you guys are fine.
Good,
Okay.
that'll work, perfect.
Okay, Kim, I have a question for you. Now, I come in on a Sunday to do the warrants. Do I do anything other than just come in and sign them?
You probably
you're
should
by
sign the,
yourself.
right, by yourself, but it wouldn't hurt for you to sign the clipboard just saying you were here and you are fine, because if you're asymptomatic and you come down with it on Monday, I'd like to know that you were in here on Sunday.
Well, if I was sick, I wouldn't go in. Then,
But if you're asymptomatic and you don't know it,
well, that's true. How would you know that?
well, by signing in, I'll know that you were there on Sunday,
Right, yes.
even though you didn't feel sick.
Okay.
So it would be nice if everybody just checked
Okay,
the
Not a
clipboard.
problem.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and then with regard to those who have taken the training, out of 55 people, all but 12 have taken it. And I don't know, some people are really hard-headed, I guess, but I sent them another email today saying, if you get this email, you got to take this training. It isn't a choice. And they talked about it today. Everybody. We have people who never meet in a committee, but they're on our list of elected or appointed officials. Everybody has to do that 15-minute training, period. So if I send out the list, you guys can talk to the rest of them. I'm tired of talking to people about it. It's very simple to do, as all of you know. Just do it.
Yeah, we just sat in on a webinar at 2 o'clock today, Bill and I, and it was from Tom, what was his name there? It was
His
great.
deputy.
Yeah, and from ACCD, and he said, yes, everybody needs to take that and document it.
Not a big deal.
Oh, I'm at a meeting. Can I call you back?
All right, so are we all done with the VOSHA bill? Anybody? Any more questions? Danny?
Do you guys need me for anything else on the meeting?
Don't think so.
Probably not.
All right, then I'm gonna leave then.
Okay.
See you, Danny.
Danny, stay
All right,
well.
thanks.
You, Danny.
Yep, thank
All
you.
righty, so, Kim, you're on here for clerk and treasurer report?
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna be on there on a, every time you guys have a meeting in case something comes up. Everything's going fine. I talked to Joe earlier this week and taxes are rolling in. It was very helpful. I sent out my reminder, so even those who didn't realize that they had interest due or that they did have a past payment that was not paid, they're paying it. Right now, looking at my revenue sheet, as of last Friday, and last Thursday, I've actually gotten a whole lot more taxes in. We were at 83% collection of our taxes projected. So, you know, I think we're going to be okay, even though everybody's worried about whether or not taxes will be coming in and how many people will be impacted by this. We're okay financially, I believe.
Hey, Kim, can you send out the expenditure report again,
Sure.
please? Thank
Yeah.
you.
Do you guys have any questions on any of the any figures or anything of the sort?
No, but Kim, we have one more meeting before we have a couple more meetings before the end of the fiscal year.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I guess in June, we should just review the budget to see how we end up, whether we're over, under, or where.
Yeah, probably the first meeting of June
Yeah,
would be a
that-
good one, because then I'll collect the last tax payment and I'll know who at that point is delinquent and who is not.
Okay, good. Anything else of Kim?
Nope, I'm all set.
Okay. 7, Bill, you've got the virus office protocol on here?
I think we've done enough with that. We've done enough with that.
Okay, that's fine with me. Cemeteries, Stan, you met with the guys.
I did. On Saturday morning, I met with the three of them. There was Don, James, and Walter. And I handed them, there was a sheet of the protocols from the governor that says that, if you're going to go back to work, these are the requirements that you have to meet. And as far as I was concerned, they indicated that they knew everything that they had to do, and they just folded the papers up, put them in their pockets. There wasn't a lot of attention here. I did try to nail Don down at the time. I said, Don, between the four of us, what is your intention? Are you going to maintain your position as town cemetery agent or not? He hemmed and hawed and then said yes, that he wanted to continue to do it. Of course, we all know that's changed since then. I asked a couple of questions about work, how they work. I said, I don't think it's a good idea that the cemeteries are separated by such long distances, and a lot of places are very remote, that I didn't think it was a good idea that any one person at any one time is working in the cemetery by themselves. But indicated that would just drive up the costs. And I said, well, it shouldn't really. If you were going to spend 3 hours at a certain cemetery or a certain plot of land and you had one person do it for 3 hours, if you had two people go in, it should take half that amount of time. They didn't seem to agree with that. That was kind of my point. I did ask about, Don says that, we need land. And so I did ask, I said, if we're going to look for a piece of land, what size, what kind of acreage are we talking about? Nobody knew. If they should be running a chainsaw, if they had training. I don't know if they have safety equipment or not. And I think we're going to go into executive session, so some of this stuff is going to come out. And I don't know. It's like I said, for the most part, I think I should have been talking to the one of the headstones there. I don't think it went very far. But I made an attempt.
Has everybody had a chance to, not that we're going to deal with it today, but have people had a chance to look at Bill's paperwork on Springfield and Londonderry's cemetery rules and regulations?
The one from Springfield was old. Did that go back out?
The what?
I did get the thing from Londonderry.
Well, the only reason why I'm asking is that we should put this, depending on what happens with the executive session, but we should put this on either the next meeting or another one so that we can, narrow down the rules and regulations.
I think at some point, again, it's something we can address under the executive session. It doesn't have to be under executive session, but I think we can talk about it. And I think, we don't have a clue as a board of where they are at any one, what they're doing at any one time. And we do get that report from the highway. I think there maybe should be a sheet submitted that during a week of whatever, they're at this place on Monday, this place on Tuesday, and what they're doing. There should be some sort of a context of their sort of work or what they're trying to accomplish and where they are. I think the other thing that we don't have, I'm assuming that all the equipment that they use, and I don't know what that equipment is, but I don't know if the town has an inventory. If the town in fact owns that equipment, I don't even believe that we have an inventory of what that equipment is. And
Stan, there's no inventory of that equipment. Trust me. Kim's shaking her head.
There is none.
Well, I think
and that's been one of my concerns also, is and then where is it stored?
And where is it? Yeah, we don't know where this stuff is.
I know.
I mean, that could get a little sticky, and that's why I say that might be an executive session thing. But we have absolutely no control of what's going on in the cemetery.
I agree.
I don't know who it was, whether it was Bill or you, Stan. We talked about it. Bill made a suggestion is that just like we have a committee for the town hall, we have a committee for the park, is we should have a committee or a committee of the board who is, is charge of the cemetery, so to speak. And where we could ride, either one of them could ride around and check and see what they're doing and maybe check on them during the day, or they could give the report to us, the board or something. But to have somebody who has some oversight on these people and the cemetery to make sure they actually are cutting the lawns and raking the leaves and doing whatever they're supposed to be doing.
Well, yeah, that goes to the other thing too, is I did ask Don, we met at the Houghtonville Cemetery. And I said to him, I said, aren't all cemeteries supposed to have some sort of a delineating fence along the road? And he said, absolutely, but the town wouldn't spend the money to do it. I don't ever remember that coming up as ever being a question. It was very definitive. The town wouldn't spend the money to put in a split rail fence to delineate the edge of the cemetery. What he said.
He told me that, and I have not been able to verify it, that Tanya Evans agreed to give the money to put the fence up for the Houghtonville, but the select board rejected it. But I have no. I know that she did do that, but I don't know why it was rejected.
I don't know. I don't remember.
That's Don, so who knows?
All right. I think that's basically what I had to say under the cemeteries, and I think a lot of it, we go into executive session. I think we can be a little.
Okay, but I still think though that we should read the cemetery rules from Londonderry and Springfield, and Bill sent along this long thing about burial laws and all that. And then over the next couple of meetings, we should be working on some real rules and regulations for the cemetery, so that we have them. And I don't know what the status with Debo is, but maybe he can start his little project.
I've already talked to him. He's just waiting for this virus thing to calm down.
Right.
But he's fully aware that we want it done.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Is there anything else in the cemetery before we know we have to go into executive session? But anybody has anything else you want to speak?
Yeah, Bill, did you send that letter to Tim Muller?
Bill, you're muted.
I talked, John.
Yeah.
I talked to Bill during the week, and he said
Time out. I was muted. I sent it to
Right.
Tim.
Okay.
I haven't heard back.
Okay, so can we move on, or do we want to continue out of executive session for the cemeteries? Okay, all right. Solar project, Bill, you put that on there?
Yeah, I sent you an email. I got an email. I think I sent it to you a long time ago too, from Rex James. Wanted to know if the town wanted to be involved in the solar project there. I sent you the email. You need to look at it, decide what you want to do.
Yeah, because I think I asked Bill to actually have that put on there. I think anyway, but yeah, he's absolutely right. That came out some months ago or some time ago, and we said, okay, we'll put it back on the agenda. And it hasn't appeared, but I just think that if we don't make some sort of an effort, how can we as a municipal government expect other people to participate in something like that? I think there has to be potentially some example of it. Not that we want to deal with it today, but I think we do have to look at it.
Well, I have some serious concerns. So can we discuss that in the executive session tonight?
That's why I put contracts there.
Yeah, okay. Okay. So the last thing then is the purchasing or the procurement policy. Has everybody had a chance to look at it? And I did. I have no issues with it, but
I've spent quite a lot of time on it and looked through it, and I think it's good the way it is. I tossed around changing the dollar amounts, that 150,000 to 100,000, but it really doesn't do anything one way or the other. So it covers it the way it is, and then it drops down to the 20,000. But we're all retired, and I would think that we've had time enough to look at this and make a decision on it and not prolong it, because it really is something you should have.
Well, I agree with John. I read it over, and I don't have a problem with it. At least it's a good start anyway. If things don't work out and you want to amend it later on, we can, but I think it's good to have it, have this policy part of the town.
The main thing that I changed in there is that we don't have to, we have a higher number before we have to go to publication for non-federal projects. For federal projects, it starts at 2,000, but for non-federal projects, we don't have to go to a bid. We don't have to go to a newspaper. We have to get at least three quotes, but we don't have to go to a newspaper and posting it.
So what is the board's pleasure?
I don't hear from anybody else, so I don't know.
Well, I thought you were gonna make a motion.
Make a
If
motion.
not, I'll make a motion if you want, that we accept the policy as presented to us by Bill.
I'll second it.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion from Kathy or Stan?
No, and the only thing I was thinking, I was, what John was saying about the dollar value, but it's fine.
I don't think it makes any difference, Stan. It's pretty well covered.
Yeah.
Okay, so if everybody's okay with it, so all in favor of adopting the procurement policy that was created by Bill, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. So Bill, we have to sign this, right? I'm assuming, so how do we want to accomplish this?
We can put it out on the table like we have just inside the door,
Okay.
if that's okay with the safety officer.
It is, as long as they want to sign the sheet that says they were in here, so I know that somebody was and touched something. Because I gotta clean it.
Okay. Do we have any other business?
Yeah, I just wanted to bring up, I think I sent everybody, we talked last meeting about the next step when we do start opening and what I'd like to see happen in our office. And I think Bill should have sent that to you for researchers, lawyers, and legals and assistants. This is kind of, it's not, I'm going to change one item in there. I am going to decide to put gloves. I have ordered gloves, and by people using the gloves that I have, then I don't have to clean as much. I know they're coming here, they're taking them, they're clean, and then they can dispose of them. They're not bringing in gloves of their own that I don't know how many times they've used them or where they've used them. So I will add that line item. The second was only one person from the public per office at any given time will be allowed in the town office. Because right now, as it stands, the ruling is 2 people per office, me being one, and then someone visiting. If that should change by the 15th, then I'll change this here. But I'm still not going to probably, and I'm sure they are not going to allow to have, 4 or 5 of us in here. And there has been up to, and you can ask Nancy and Hardy, I think I've had up to 9 people between the listers and myself in the office at any one given time. So I think this is the route, and Bill's said he's comfortable with this, and if he has changes, and I do as the 2 weeks move forward, this is probably what I'm going to post to the website and put on my door, and I'm going to send it out to all of my legal assistants and researchers, and possibly the Grafton News. So if you guys have any input, that would be great.
Yeah, no public restroom.
Yes, there would be none.
Fine with me. I read it off. I talked to Kim.
Let me question that.
Like, motion for that, or you just want to go through with it?
They do.
What's this?
Bill just said no public restroom. So if somebody's getting their legal papers from the vault and all that other stuff, what do they do?
Nope.
Gonna put an outhouse in back?
Nope, no public restrooms, as long as it's stated prior and it's recommended too by the CCD of no public restrooms, especially when we don't have anyone cleaning them but ourselves, and that would mean I'd have to go in right behind them and clean, and we share with the post office. So,
Kim, would you like a motion to proceed with your recommendation, or?
yeah, I don't know as if it needs a motion, and it's just kind of your blessing, but it's up to you guys if you feel a motion is necessary.
I'm fine with a motion that the safety officer for the town hall proceeds with, at least for the current near future, with the plan that you described to us.
Okay, do we have a second to that?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? So all in favor of the motion of Alan, say aye.
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 Opposed? Opposed? None? Okay. All right, before we go to public comment, the school didn't show up.
No.
So does anybody want to speak to this situation or what, or?
I could tell you what little I know, and that is that Jack Breyer and the rest of them have been working for a long time to figure out what they're going to do for a principal in both schools, and that this was the solution that has evolved over the months. It wasn't anything done right away. They need a principal, and the principal being shared between the two schools. He realizes that people don't like that solution for Grafton, and he sympathizes with that, but that is what they have decided. The board has decided along with Chris Pratt. That's what they decided, and this happened over the last couple months. That's all I know.
So we have no local control, period.
You haven't had any since Act 60.
So can I ask, Bill, did you send out that email that came from Jack Breyer on Saturday about school district without approved budgets? Can anybody make heads or tails out of that?
No, and I read it.
Okay, I've read it, and I don't even get the subject. Where are? Okay, and then I can't understand the rest of it. I mean, it's foreign to me, but.
I think what he's saying is that the finance, what do you call it? The software they have is worthless.
Yep.
That's
we
basically.
knew that.
Well, he was just showing how bad it was. That's my understanding.
Okay, well, I was kind of hoping, Jack could shed a little light on what's happening with a possible vote and all. I'm sure he doesn't know yet for sure, but at least, so I really wish he was here.
Well, there's nothing we can do unless you want to have a special meeting, but since I guess nothing's really going to happen anyway, let's put him on the agenda and make sure he comes on Microsoft Teams the next meeting.
Okay, and I just, when this meeting started, I got on there, emailed him, and re-invited him. So I don't know what happened.
I don't either. So all right, okay, but let's put him on. Let's put him on for the next agenda. Let's try it again.
Joe, on the other business, or you
Yeah.
go away from it.
Go ahead.
How are we doing on the guidelines for tree warden?
For what?
For tree warden? Weren't we gonna drop some guidelines or something with Al?
My memory of the discussion is different than what I saw written. I said I would consider it, and when I read it, it sounded like I'd agreed to it, and then we're going to write up the. I'd like to see the guidelines first before I make any commitment.
That's what I thought too.
Well, yeah, that's my recollection is that Alan said he would do it, but he wanted to see what the guidelines were.
No, Alan said he would consider it. Big
Oh,
difference.
consider it, okay, all right. But still, you need the guidelines.
Okay.
Okay, so why don't you and Bill deal with that and for the next meeting? How's that, Alan? Does that work?
You- Yeah,
I mean, let you want Bill to write the guidelines, but don't you want to have an input on that?
no, I'd like to see what's written, then I'll have input.
Okay,
Okay, I'll take the first shot at
that's
it.
okay.
That's
All right.
that's what I prefer.
Do we have any other business? Okay, since we have some public on, do we have any public comment?
Joe, this is Suzanne. I was just going to comment on the school, the missing school report. And so I'm very happy you're adding that to the agenda next time. Thank you.
Okay, do we have any other public comment?
Hi, this is Charles Bowman. I want to first thank you for inviting me to hear this meeting and all the previous meetings. I find them very informative. I have a question, if anybody has an opinion. We're down in New Jersey, and we see how the governor feels about us coming up to Vermont, and we want to respect that. But I have gotten a call from a couple of people also from New Jersey that were there and have felt uncomfortable, that they felt that some people in town were uncomfortable that they were there. Is there any time when everybody would feel that it was all right that we came up? We want to see our house, and we wouldn't come up probably until Memorial Day weekend, and we would stay on our property unless we wanted to walk around the streets or ask June to make us a dinner. Is that an issue for anyone?
It's not an issue as such, except that when you do come in, you're supposed to hibernate for 14 days.
Well, Stan, I know that obviously I can't stay up there for 14 days. So when you say hibernate, does that mean we can't come out of the house, or I mean, what does that mean? I want to pick some weeds.
I'm just looking at, when you come in, if you come into Vermont, they're still looking, they're not tracking or anything license plates, but they're looking at license plates. I don't know what they're doing with it, with that information, but there's great big signboards. When you cross into Vermont, every place where you go across either Connecticut River or in from Massachusetts, there are these big signboards that are still there that said you must, what do they call it?
Self-isolate.
Self-isolate. Days. All I can.
Charles, can I help you answer? If you read the guidelines from the state, the governor's order, is that you are if you were going to if you were going to be here for a while, you would have to wait 14 days before you could move about freely. Going for a walk or doing those type of things that people do, as long as it's just you guys by yourself, going out and pick this stuff in your garden, all that other stuff. That's, as long as you stay socially isolated, you're meeting the guidelines from the governor.
Okay. All right. I thank you for that.
That was the subject on his conference this morning that he had at 11 o'clock, were the people that are coming for the weekends. And it's okay as long as they don't go grocery shopping while they're here and go pick up supplies. The idea is come here, stay self-isolated, don't go into stores, and they're okay to go back and forth. And just don't have any control over how the rest of the community feels or how you're looked at, because
Yeah,
It is an issue when you see, I mean, I have nothing against anybody being here, but when I see an out-of-state plate, it does come to my attention right away. How long have they been here? Who is it? It's natural.
Yeah. Okay, well, no, I accept that, and I don't want to offend anybody or make anybody feel uncomfortable. I just would just like to come up and throw down some mulch or something on the property.
There you go.
Okay, thank you all.
Okay. Any other public comment?
I have a other business. Can I do that?
Well, you missed it, but go ahead.
Well, a little slow today. I finally thought about it. I just want to let you know, on Friday of last week, Tim Morton is the forester for Forest and Parks. He and I walked the village park, and we walked the trail system, several big trees down that need attention. I'm prepared to take care of that. We looked at the site for the potential lean-to, some hazard trees there. But as far as the logging parking area, we looked at the site, the same site that Danny and I had looked at. Of course, it had rained really pretty heavy on Thursday, so we were looking at it just after the rain had stopped. Worst case scenario, which is sometimes the best time to look at it. Tim has some concerns with water and drainage. He wants to have a contractor or two look at it. Probably one that would also do the timber sale if that was to happen. So at this point, he's going to kind of have somebody else look at it with him, and other than that, I've updated you as much as I know at this point. He's going to get back to me after the second look with a contractor.
I think that's good. Get a couple of opinions.
Yeah.
Okay, any other business? If we don't have any business, we need a motion to go into executive session for personnel
Personnel and contracts.
and contract. You're right.
So
Take
moved.
that motion.